good to have you in the studio. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, making the drive. Like I said, it's kind of cool to get to connect with the community here locally. Hopefully, as the podcast continues to grow, that expands a little bit. We can bring more people in here from further away, and because the Zoom calls are fun and they're good to do, of course, but being in person, it's so much more personable, and you can kind of feel the emotion and things a little bit more when people talk.
100%. I've seen the videos on Instagram that you post. The latest one was with the lady that won New York Pro, and I was like, it'd be cool if I was there too.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm gonna make the drive.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's what it's about here on the weight room, is connecting the community, getting me as well as the listeners getting to learn a little bit. Learn about somebody's journey and what they went through and how they can apply that to their bodybuilding or fitness or health, whatever kind of journey that they're going through, because we all have something to offer, I feel like.
Right.
And there's we can all make our own individual podcasts, but if there's a place where people can go and feel like that they can be heard and they can go and feel like they can learn something, I think that's kind of cool. Right.
100%. And I feel like people relate too. Like I listened to some episodes before I came out here, and I was like, I kind of feel that, you don't, especially with amateur bodybuilders too, you don't really know what they're going through, because a lot of amateurs have to deal with work and prepping. A lot of pros don't have to do that because their work is prepping. Yeah. So it's kind of cool to hear, because I used to work construction and have to do competitions as well. So it was cool to hear people struggling with the same stuff I struggle with, Yeah, for sure. So let's talk a little bit about that. How did you actually get into this world of bodybuilding? So it all started when I was 14, and my dad used to make fun of me for being fat, actually. And that's how I got into it. He had a little bench press in the living room, and I started working out there. And the first person you look up whenever you are looking up bodybuilding is Arnold. Yeah. So I started watching Pumping Iron, and I fell in love with it. But yeah, I think I did my first competition when I was 17 in Michigan. So it took me 3 years of working out and learning my body and all that stuff. Plus, I also grew up in Greece, which the bodybuilding community is not that big out there. So there's not many competitions you can go to, not many things you can do. So once I moved here, the year after I moved here, I did my first competition in Michigan. I think it was the Peggy Sue Barber Classic. I think I did that one. And I did physique and classic physique. It was the year after classic physique started. Gotcha. Yeah, that's kind of the same way I got introduced really into the world of fitness, was through, Arnold. It's funny because I'm not like a bodybuilder, and I don't train for that, but I really do enjoy, the sport and the mindset behind it. I think it's a very powerful mindset of like being super disciplined, being able to prioritize what you want and sacrifice certain things for, later on. I just think there's a lot of really good qualities that can come from bodybuilding that is kind of lost in the modern day. No, 100%. And nowadays, you see kids going to the gym just because they want to take a picture, because they want to record a video. I didn't start recording myself until, literally my preps for nationals. And like I said, I started when I was 14. I'm 25, about to be 26 now, and I didn't even feel comfortable doing it, So first you fall in love with bodybuilding itself, and that's why when people say I'm not a bodybuilder, if you are living the lifestyle, you are a bodybuilder. You're not a competitive bodybuilder, but you're still a bodybuilder. You're still living the lifestyle. You're still doing everything I'm doing. You're just not competing, So, yeah, I guess that's how I feel about that. But I enjoy the lifestyle, and I fell in love with that first. And then I started even considering competing. So I understand what you're saying when you say, you fall in love with the whole, basically culture of it. Yeah. So. All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break here just for a second. Let me tell you about Smoking Gun Coffee. They're a veteran-owned coffee company that strives to produce a quality coffee at an affordable price. They only buy coffee from small coffee farmers around the world with a cup score of at least 85. Each batch is roasted to order for maximum freshness.
They also donate a large portion of their proceeds to organizations that help local communities, veterans, first responders, or you can donate to the foundation of your choice at the checkout by going to www.smokingguncoffee.com. That's SMOKIN Coffee. Yeah, and it's cool because it's kind of growing, it feels like, especially with social media and everything, and it's becoming more of like an accepted thing. I feel like back in, even when I was a kid, which isn't too far long ago, watching Arnold, from the past, and it just felt like that era, it was more exclusive. Yeah. It was more of like looked at in a negative light. All those kind of stereotypes were so prevalent. Right. And there wasn't this like eye for people, the social media eye where people can show off the positives of it, can show off, the workouts and the eating and the things. And, now it just feels like it's so much more accepted, and it's a route that anybody can take. If they want to put in the work, it just feels like it's available for anybody now. Right.
No, it's growing for sure. And it's awesome because you see people that are having issues, health issues. I work with a lot of people a lot of lifestyle clients, right? So they want to change their habits just to be healthier. And they don't feel that uncomfortable doing it. They don't think that, like you said, back in the day was more like a niche. You go into a gym and it's all jacked dudes, jacked women in there yelling and screaming. And you're like, you know what? I don't know if I want to be in here. But nowadays you have commercial gyms. You have any kind of gyms you want to, first off. And secondly, you have all the help you can find in the world because there's a lot of people that specialize on it right now. So it's becoming more of a, cultural thing. That's cool. Yeah. Like you said, it's not just accepted, but it's almost like the trend. Yeah. Definitely. So it's really cool to see that.
So kind of going back in time a little bit to, you said you were 14 and you got that first kind of taste of working out. How did that kind of translate into other parts of your life? Because obviously when you're 14 years old, that's a very developmental time. Yes. You're very impressionable. You have a lot of pressure on you from kind of outside to fit into certain, norms or whatever. Yeah. Like, how did that like build confidence, or like how did that really play into your teen years?
Initially, it built confidence because I lost the weight because I started, learning how to eat and working out, living a healthier lifestyle. But then I tried different sports, and I wasn't really as good as I was in bodybuilding. I was okay, but, in bodybuilding, people notice you. They're like, dang, you lost weight. You look better. Your chest looks bigger. Your arms looks bigger. So I guess I got kind of like addicted to that. Seeing the progress visually and also hearing it, the confirmation you get from people. Plus, again, my dad is an awesome dad, but I also wanted to make him proud, right? So I would try these different sports. I wanted to try like soccer, and I was not meant to play soccer, just to put it there simple. I wasn't meant to play soccer or stuff like that. So eventually I just was like, you know what? I'm just going to focus on bodybuilding. I'm just going to do that. This seems like to be the one thing that I'm good at, so I'm going to stick to it. And like I said, once you get the bug and once you fall in love with it, you kind of start visualizing about being on stage, getting the prep, getting the coach, doing the things that you need to do. Yeah, having the the classic hotel picture you see of guys before they go on stage, and they have the natural lighting hitting them. You start visualizing those things, and eventually I was like, it needs to happen. I need to make this happen because this is my dream and I want to do it.
Yeah. So how long did it take you to go from, okay, I'm starting to work out to, okay, I'm actually going to like do this seriously and have the vision of getting on stage? Like,
so I started working out at 14, did my first competition at 17. The first competition was done to see if I even like it, right? So it wasn't like a crazy prep where I died trying to get ready for the show. It was just like, let's just give this a test run, see how I do. And after that first show, which went very well, I won. But after that first show, that's when I was like, I'm taking it seriously. Like, I really like this. I really want to, take it to the next level. So I was looking around. I got a coach after a couple of years after that, because I was like, for me to take it to the next level, I have to find me a coach. I have to find someone that has a better opinion when I'm too depleted, you know, when I'm getting ready for the show again or whatever. So I guess a couple years after that, so around 19 years old, I got my first coach. I had moved to Texas back then, and my first coach was actually Jonathan Withers. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He won, what was it, the Nationals? Junior Nationals? I think he won either Nationals or Junior Nationals. And he started coaching me. It worked great. We put a lot of size on. But then after that, I decided I wanted to actually turn pro and see what I can do in the pro league. But 19 was whenever I remember I was like, you know what? I'm gonna find me a coach. I'm gonna do everything I need to do. They tell me to eat dirt, I'm gonna eat dirt. And they tell me to eat, you know, worms, I'll do it. So thank God they didn't tell me to do that. But the more time went by, the more time I felt like I was missing out on. Because I was like, what if I took this serious 2 years ago? I could have progressed so much more. So I was like, one day I was just like, let's just do it. Let's just commit to it. And I was 19 years old. It took me till literally 2021, right? With the Nationals, December. So it took me from 19 till 24 to even think that I'm ready for a show. So it takes a long time. So people tell me that I'm young, 25, 26, but I've been at this for 11 years,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you feel like because you have that, 11 years of training and 11 years of kind of developing that, do you feel that that's like or what kind of advantage, or maybe there's no disadvantage, but disadvantage do you feel like you have over somebody who, maybe got into it at 18?
So I'd say the advantages are obviously the experience, learning your body, learning what you respond, well to food-wise, training-wise, and just learning the process like we were talking about earlier, falling in love with bodybuilding. It takes time to do that because there's different stages. There's the beginning stage where you see all the beginner gains and then you plateau,
right?
And then you have to educate yourself more. So I actually enjoyed that whole process, although it took long. The disadvantages were the fact that I didn't know a lot of things and I did a lot of things wrong. My form, eating. And then, like I said before, all the jobs I've had were laborers jobs. So bad form combined with a laborer's job means a lot of joint pain and a lot of, in general, lower back pain, knee pain, all that stuff. So I still deal with that now, though I don't have a laborer's job, but all that damage I did back then, I'm still feeling today.
Yeah.
So that's the only disadvantage I'd say there. The fact that you don't know how to do certain things and you don't have someone to guide you. But at the same time, you learn a lot of things and you see what happens when you try things that don't work out. So it's a give and take, I guess, experience for, kind of a little bit of joint pain.
Yeah. And actually I was talking to somebody on the podcast here a few episodes back, and he was actually, he's new into the sport of bodybuilding, younger guy, and what was the job he did? I think he was working like lawn care.
Okay.
And, it's kind of same situation. He was like, I would spend all day outside. I would work outdoors, hard work.
Yep.
And then I would have to go to the gym, for 2 hours. So it's like, it's crazy though. It's crazy like the different routes though people take. Somebody does that. Some people are, they're in nursing. Some people have a stay-at-home job, whatever. Like, but everybody at the end of the day, they get it done. And I think that's one of the coolest things. It's like everybody finds the time or makes the time, whichever way you kind of want to look at it, regardless of what obstacles and hurdles that are in their life.
No, I agree. And you have to get creative too, because, construction, you only get one lunch break. So you have to find time to eat. Like I literally, when I go grab material, I grab a meal, and people always tell me I ate too fast. That's why I ate too fast, because I was used to like having to scarf down a meal in like 2 minutes and then run back to work. So nobody knew that I was gone for those 2 minutes. So like you said, and bodybuilding, especially in the amateur level, is not possible without having a job. People that quit their jobs for something like that, I'm like, it can be your side thing until it actually takes over or takes off, whatever you want to call it. But if you're having a job, don't quit it just because you want to start bodybuilding. You're not going to see money from it. You know, and like we were talking about earlier, falling in love with it will be the reason why you do find creative ways to keep pushing when other people wouldn't.
Right.
You know, if you're not in love with it and all you're doing it for is going to the gym and taking pictures, that one night that you came back from work super late, you're not going to want to go to the gym.
Yeah.
You're not going to make it there.
Right.
You know, so it's a process, and I think it's a good process, you know, to go through that. It makes you mentally tougher in life to just know how to handle situations and be like, you know what, I need to prioritize things. I need to prioritize my family, my job, and then comes the gym.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Yeah, and it's really cool to hear people's different perspective on, you know, how they handle a prep, you know, how they handle, you know, their off season or their whatever kind of stage that they're in. And like it kind of goes back to the same thing. Everybody handles it a little bit differently, but everybody gets it done. It's just really, it's really unique, the sport, you know, because it's not like, you know, okay, I play for, you know, the Patriots, so this is what we're doing. You know, the coaches have the schedule, they make it, I just show up. You know, you have to make your own schedule. You have to handle all the factors.
Exactly.
You know, you have to handle the traveling stuff. You have to handle, you know, your meals. You have to train. You have to handle your training. You know, it really is a sport that is all on you.
Yes.
And you know, the pressure of getting all that done, you know, I can only imagine, especially once you kind of get to the next level of things, what that really brings on.
I like it. I like the pressure. You know what I mean? I think that's when I perform the best. We did nationals this year. We did Junior USAs. We won that. And we did a show right after next weekend. I wasn't planning on it, but my wife and my coach were talking on the phone before even prejudging was done. So we didn't know for sure that I earned a pro card or I'm going to be even able to compete at the pro show the weekend after. But they already booked the flights, and she already bought her tickets. Everything was already said and done because they had faith in me. And that pressure that they put on me in that moment, I was like, you know, at the night show, I need to come better, whether I think that I won the show or not. So that pressure, I feel like is good. I think you need that pressure. Yeah. If you don't have that pressure and you're not perform under pressure, you're not going to be able to perform anything in life. Yeah. You know, so, you know, having to multitask, work, bodybuilding, competing, whatever it is, there's going to be a hard time. Anything that is worth it, you're going to have a hard time with, you know, business-wise, bodybuilding-wise. So, yeah, I love the pressure. I like that.
Yeah, it's really cool. How would you kind of compare, though, you know, that first show you competed in? You know, obviously, it's very exposing, I guess, or it's very... You know, you're showing your body off. You're showing like the work you put in. That's and as a kid still. Yeah. You know, I can only imagine what kind of emotions you would go through. I can only imagine like, you know, how are they going to look at me? Are they going to, even if it, you know, like a kid isn't always thinking rationally. You know, if I don't get this placement, you know, you might feel bad about stuff, and you might, hopefully not, but maybe quit doing it. How did you kind of handle that, you know, first show going in emotionally, you know, actually going into the show, you know, stepping on stage and then afterwards?
So I've just now managed to figure out how to do well with preps and other people. Because back then, right now we do online coaching, personal training, stuff like that. So I had to learn that because back then I didn't have to know that. I was working a regular job or construction work, which means that you can be quiet if you want to. You don't have to talk to everybody. But just now I'm figuring out how to deal with a prep, like my reactions to other people. I would close everybody out, so I wouldn't respond to text messages. I wouldn't answer phone calls because I'm like, if you're not helping me right now because of the way I feel, I don't need to spend any energy on you. So now I'm not like that because I realize that life is not just about bodybuilding, you know. Back then, that was my problem with dealing with preps. I thought it was the end of the world, you know. And like you said, as a kid, especially a kid that was obese when he was younger, you're very insecure stepping on stage, you know. You're literally over there with a banana hammock on stage, you know, for the first time ever in front of however many people, and people literally looking at you, judging you right in front of you. Yeah. So I was super nervous, but as soon as I got out there and seen their reaction, and the fact that I won, I'm pretty sure, helped a lot. Gave me a lot of confidence. I was like, I looked at the pictures afterwards, and I was like, there's a lot of work to be done, but I'm very happy with this. So I was very satisfied. But I would say the only, part where I had a hard time with was that, and that little last stretch of the prep. That's wherever I kind of shut down. So, yeah.
Yeah. And, like I said, just going through that process really as a kid still, you have grown men going through it, and it's challenging. And, the way that your brain kind of changes a little bit, you can't rationalize things as well. Yeah. And, getting a coach, obviously that's definitely helpful, because they can see things that you can't see, make decisions for you based on, reality instead of, and I was actually talking to a guy here a couple of episodes back, and he was talking about doing a prep without a coach, and he was like, I knew I shouldn't have done it, but I did it anyway. And he was like, I was just like cutting calories like crazy, and I was doing all this extra work because, I'd look in the mirror and I would see myself and I'd be like, oh my gosh, I'm fat. And it's crazy what your brain will do.
Yeah. And it's funny that you say that, because like you might be shredded to the bone, and you might think you're too fat, or you might think you're too small, and you might be just perfect. Yeah. And it might be like the week before the show, and you ruin everything. You just start eating a whole bunch of carbs. You step on stage, you're watery. There's nothing you can do to fix it, because if you eat bad food a week before the show and you're super lean and dry, it's not going to go away with anything you take. Like, you're just going to step on stage and you're not going to look good. Your stomach is going to be distended. You're going to have indigestion. Stuff is not going to work out. Right. So I think having a coach it definitely changed a lot of things for me, and it takes a lot of stress off. You don't have to think about, what am I supposed to be doing? Am I doing things right? Am I doing things wrong? Am I overthinking it? I hear people that do their own preps, and most of the times it's like you said, they're like, yeah, I'm not doing that again. I should have not done it,
Yeah.
It's just because you have a professional eye looking at you, and you know that you can be safe with that. Right. You don't have to think about, how do I look? Do I look good? Do I look bad? Your coach is going to tell you. Yeah. And if they always tell you look good, you have a bad coach.
Yeah. No, yeah. And that's actually a really interesting point to bring up, because whether it's a fact of they don't know, or they just want to make, they're people pleasers and they don't want to upset a client. I think it's interesting hearing that, because, talking to coaches on the podcast, a lot of times the people who have the most experience and are really successful in coaching, they'll just straight up say, like, you may not like what you have to hear. Yeah. Like, it's crazy to think that, in the world of social media, there's so many, quote unquote coaches out there, because anybody can just claim that they're a coach.
Put it on your bio, you're a coach now.
Yeah. But in reality, it's like one of the most holistic things, you have to worry about. You have to worry about people's diet. You have to worry about their training, their hormones. You have to worry about, all kinds of different levels within the body, and all how everything is impacted, even to the point where it's like, I was talking to Donna Sleep here, and she was talking about just the flight, like how the flight can make the difference. We're going out to Vegas, a few days before, because it's going to affect the water and the cells. Like, that kind of thing is just mind-blowing to think that could make the difference between winning and losing.
A huge difference. And the funny thing is that other people react differently. Whenever I fly, because I don't need as much whenever I fly. I'm so occupied by catching my flight, grabbing my bag, doing all that stuff. I land lighter than I was when I got in the plane. But for my wife, whenever she gets on a flight or on a drive, she holds like 5 pounds of water. She needs 2 or 3 days to drop that water, Yeah. So it's all those small factors, like you said. And I didn't know that when I didn't have a coach. So I would drive 4 or 5 hours to a show not knowing that. And I'm like, I don't know why I'm holding water. Like I said earlier, I need to cut my carbs even lower. Yeah. So then you just look more flat and watery. So you're just going deeper in the hole, not looking good,
Yeah. So you think you're doing the right thing, and it turns out it's the complete opposite.
Exactly. And then you're like, oh, maybe I should throw some more carbs in there to help it. Maybe that's what the problem is. And you start overeating, and you hold more water because you have carbs. So it's just a disaster. So having a coach to tell you, look, wear compression pants, compression shirt. Make sure, you stay on your meals. You don't eat anything you're not supposed to. And control your water. When you get off the plane, we'll look at your weight. We'll adjust from there. And he knows what to do after that. Especially being on prep those last days, you're mentally not there. All you're thinking about is winning. You're obsessed. So you're like, I just got to push harder. I just got to feel worse. The worse I feel, the better I'm going to look, which is not always the truth, you know?
Yeah.
I feel the best when I step on stage. I hear guys saying, I feel like I'm going to pass out. I'm like, I don't know why. I've been eating honey and rice cakes all day and haven't had carbs in 3 weeks. So I feel amazing right now. Yeah. I hear people saying I'm going to pass out. I'm like, well, you might need to check that out. Your body might be saying something to you.
Yeah.
You know, so it all depends. Everybody responds differently to, you know, every small little detail, and a coach plays a big role in that.
Yeah.
For sure.
And what you said about, you know, how people are feeling really bad and you're feeling good and, you know, increasing the suffering. It's funny because Brady Oak said the same thing. Like, it's not a competition about who suffers the most.
Exactly.
It's not, you know, it's about optimizing the process and suffering the least amount you have to, but, you know, optimizing that process. And
100%.
You know, I think it kind of goes back to the education side and getting a good coach and, you know, knowing really what it's all about to step on stage and all the factors that are involved in it.
No, 100%.
You know, you kind of mentioned there, like, what can go on in prep. Have you ever had any, like, crazy experiences during prep or crazy dreams during prep, like anything like that?
Dreams all the time. And I hear that a lot. I didn't know other people dream about this, but I hear that a lot. I dreamt, especially the last couple of nights before the show, I dreamed that I'm backstage with no tan, I'm fat, and I'm hairy. And I'm looking for my wife, and I'm asking her, trying to find her to ask her, why am I looking like this backstage? Why am I even here? You know, I don't care if we paid for the fee. I want to go. I'm not stepping on stage like this. So the worst thing, my biggest fear is stepping on stage and people saying, whoa, that guy does not look good. He does not belong there. And again, it's weird because they say, you know, it's an individual sport and you do it for yourself, but people are judging you, people are watching you. And when people go, and it's for the wrong reason, it's not fun, you know? Yeah. So that's one of my biggest fears, and that's why I feel like I dream that the most. Another dream I have, I'm in this, I don't know why, it's a field. It's like a grass field, and I'm sitting down, I have a box of pizza in front of me, and I'm going down on it. And, you know, in the moment it feels great, but then I'm like, hold on, I'm having a show next week, so I jump out of bed. I'm like, did I eat? Did I actually eat this pizza? What happened? Wake up my wife. I'm like, hey, did I eat something I was supposed to?
That's funny.
So, yeah, those are the craziest things. Other than that, I don't think I've actually had like an actual event.
Yeah, I'm always curious if people like see things or like, you know, just they're so
dialed in.
Yeah. They just start to have illusions or like
it plays with your mind.
Crazy stuff happen, like mirages or something in the gym or something. That'd be crazy. It wouldn't surprise me if somebody out there that had that happen to them. But I actually had a similar experience. I was doing 75 hard.
Okay.
And a few times I had a dream of, you know, drinking alcohol, and it like freaked me out. And, you know, in the dream I was like, wait a minute, I'm not supposed to be doing this. And I'm like, how much did I drink? And I'm like, no, I'm gonna have to restart. It's all over. It's really, it's crazy though what our brain, it's like our brains are so deprived of like what we want in the short term that it's just, even in that dream experience, it wants us to experience that.
100%. I feel like it's the physical need and then your actual heart, where your heart is, right? So the physical need makes you see the dream, and then your heart is like, why am I doing this? I'm supposed to. So it's like a crossover, like crossing wires, you know what I mean? Yeah. And I'm not gonna lie, when I wake up I'm like depressed the whole day because I feel like it actually happened. And then it puts a little fear in your head, especially when you're in prep. Even if your coach is like, you're right on track, you're perfect, you see yourself on stage fat, hairy, without a tan, it still sticks in your mind. And you're like, I gotta do an extra 2 minutes of cardio. I gotta push hard in the gym. I gotta, you know, and sometimes that backfires because your coach doesn't know how hard you go in your cardio. Even if you're doing 25 minutes, you can be going all out, dying on that Stairmaster, or you can be going slow paced, doing nothing. So it's also gauging it and knowing your body, learning, okay, I got to back off because it's becoming unhealthy. Yeah. So it's really interesting, you know, when the cardio aspect, because that's something I thought about a lot, is like
people doing the work, but not necessarily like putting it all into the work. You know, I think it's sometimes hard to even know, like, am I doing, you know, not necessarily, I guess you could look at it from bodybuilding or not, but like, am I putting in the work and getting it done, or am I really like just pushing myself? Am I really challenging myself? You know, I find that within my own workouts, like, you know, I know when I sit down and like have a plan to do this for, you know, the next couple months, like this should be realistic. This should be what I can do. And then, you know, it kind of gets in your head a little bit, whether you're a little behind or a little ahead. You know, should I increase it? You know, maybe not. I don't want to, you know, strain myself, overdo it. Or if I haven't reached that point yet where I thought I was going to, you know, what am I doing wrong? And you start second guessing yourself. And it's kind of something that I've had trouble with, honestly, in my own fitness, is like staying consistent with a goal. You know, I think bodybuilding, it's cool because it gives you that goal to stay consistent with.
Yeah. For sure. For me, like you said, the cardio, I had to kind of gauge it, especially this last prep, because the first prep I did with my current client, with my current coach, I was 275 when I first started, and I was 205 on stage. That's 70 pounds right there. So it was a lot of cardio. Yeah. We're doing like 3 45-minute sessions. So I had to gauge in that cardio session, I feel my feet are numb, I'm going hypo. What can I do to keep going but not pass out, you know? Yeah. So you're like, let me just reduce the intensity a little bit. See if I can keep going. Just another minute, and then another minute, and then another minute until the 45 minutes end. But if you're feeling like you're going to pass out, I'd rather go sit down than fall off the Stairmaster, hit my head, and not be able to compete the week after. Right. So it's gauging it, for me, is more like listening to your body, seeing physically. Like, if even with lifting weights, if I lift this and my shoulder's hurting, is it going to make it worse? Or should I just back off? You know, can I push myself, or am I going to create something that I don't want to deal with, like an injury or whatever else? So that's how kind of I gauge it. But again, it's all about listening to your body, listening to your coach. It's a combination of things, you know. Yeah. And it's also being on a healthy mental state, because if you're not, you're going to overdo it, whether like one way or another.
Yeah,
know?
Definitely.
So,
this podcast is sponsored by Smoking Gun Coffee, a veteran-owned coffee company that strives to give back to those in need. Don't forget to use code TWR10 for a 10% discount at checkout.
I think that's such a hard balance to find, is I think bodybuilding, it's maybe even harder too, but being, you know, kind of like you said, too obsessed, because you want that balance of really committing to it.
Yes.
And putting it all in, but then at the same time, like you said, bodybuilding is an aspect of your life, but it's not your whole life.
Exactly.
And you know, that can be challenging. You know, people experience that with work, with school, with everything. You know, it's like, you know, how, at what point is being committed to something and then crossing a line into being, you know, dangerously overcommitted to it.
Right. I feel like that happens whenever it starts taking over, like your job, your personal life, especially your personal life. If you had people around you that have been around you your whole life, and all of a sudden you're not talking to them anymore, and you caused that, you know, obviously something is going wrong there. And you're going to see, like, you're going to feel like everybody else is wrong. But if everybody else is pointing at you, then who's really wrong? Yeah. That's how, and sometimes I have to ask my wife that as well. I'm like, hey, was I mean? Was I like rude, you know, during prep? Because sometimes you can't see yourself. You look in the mirror and you see something different than other people see, you know? Yeah. So it's just having a good support system, that whether that's family, parents, or whatever, and like double checking, you know, just like, hey, do you think I overdid this situation? And if they're like, yeah, then maybe you have to go back and reevaluate, you know, and see your how does it affect you in your job? How is it affecting your personal relationships, your financial situation? If you're running out of money and you're going close to the show, maybe you should drop out that show. Maybe you should focus on money first, because the show's not going to pay your bills. Right. You know, it's always nice to do a show. It's always great. But if you're an amateur bodybuilder, you're not going to get money out of that show. You're going to spend money on that show. Yeah. So, and that's not, you know, to try and tell people not to compete, but you got to do it in a healthy way.
Right.
You know? people want to see you on the stage and see you again and again. They don't want to just see you one time and be like, oh, that guy got wrecked because he just let it go out of control.
Right. You know, talking about the money aspect of it, you know, tell us a little bit about that. I mean, you have so much financial responsibility in this sport, and for the majority of people, it's all on them, and they don't, you know, have a lot of support from sponsors or from anything. You know, tell us about that.
So what I realized early on was that I love the sport and I want to compete for the sport. Even if I turn pro and I win shows, I want to do it for me. I'm not doing it for a sponsorship. I'm not doing it for money. If you do it for that, it's not going to work. I'm just going to let you know that now. You can find something that relates to the sport as income, but if you depend on that, especially on the amateur level, it's very hard to accomplish that, because what you start doing is neglecting your actual job. So again, it's the balancing act of being good at my job, and that's how I see it in everything. I want to be 100% on everything. I want to be great at everything, right? So for me to do that, I gotta, if that means I gotta sleep 2 hours more, I'm not gonna watch my movie. I'm not gonna go to bed a little bit earlier so I can perform better at work and I can do my workout tomorrow. You know, I'm gonna meal prep my meals at 3 a.m. if I have to, because I know that I'm not gonna have meals during my day when I'm at work. You know, so it's really a balancing act. And if you have in mind that, okay, I'm doing this because I love it, you're never gonna have a problem, because you're always gonna be in the gym. You're always gonna be on your meals. So the only thing that's gonna change is paying a little fee to step on stage. But if you're thinking, you know what, I do this show and the next one I'll have money, this one's gonna change everything. Tell you what, I just got my pro card. Nothing changed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Nothing changed. So I realized early on that I have to make sure I have a career. And this is just my side career, because it's not a hobby. It's also a career, but it's just my side career.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
Absolutely. What, you know, when you obviously start when you're young, right? You know, and you compete when you're 17, you know, kind of in the financial realm, sticking there, like, did you ever question, like, you know, when you started seeing, you know, oh wow, the meals are costing me this much, the things costing me this much, like, did you ever kind of second guess, like, okay, maybe this is a little bit too much?
Yeah, multiple times. But again, like, I love the sports. I would always find myself going back to the gym. And I was like, you know, if we're doing this, why don't we do it 100%? Like I said, when I moved here when I was 15, 16, I think I moved around that time. I moved to Michigan from Greece. So it was a big transition moving from a different country to here. My uncle had a house there, but it wasn't, in my family, nothing's handed out. You earn things. So I finished high school, and the day I graduated, I found this car wash that we had down the street, and I was getting paid $5.20 an hour and tips. So at the end of the week, it would be like $300. My groceries are like $300, you know?
Yeah.
So I'd end up, you know, resorting to something like tuna cans, tuna chicken breast, bread, instead of, you know, buying a whole bag of rice. I would just buy a loaf of bread from the Dollar General, because it's cheaper there. So a lot of my meals were that. Even for my first show, it was like canned chicken, and I'd buy the canned beans, the green beans. I put them all in a plate, throw them in the microwave, and eat them. So it was rough. A lot of times I was like, I don't think I need to do this anymore. I think I should probably stop. And it wasn't just a financial thing. It was also later on when I started doing construction, plumbing, carpentry, my knees were killing me. My back would kill me. And then at the end of the day, because you're wearing boots all day,
right,
you got to go back to the gym, you know. So it's 9 o'clock at night. You know, I finished work at 7. I drove for an hour to get home. You shower, you eat a meal, you head to the gym. You're like, I just want to go to bed. You know, this thing is eating my money. I'm tired. But like I said, when you love something, you just keep on going back to it. And anything that's worth it will do that to you. You will have to sacrifice, whether that's time, that's effort. So if financially it's a struggle, if I was making $5.20 an hour, you know, I saved up for a year, I was able to go to the show, you know, you can do it, you know, because I'm pretty sure people nowadays are not getting paid $5.20, you know. Yeah. So I needed the job, and I also didn't have no experience working. So I was like, you know, I'll take whatever I can get. So I started with that. After 2 years later, I bought my first car because I was saving money to buy a car and move out of there. So that's whenever I moved to Texas and actually started construction. The first thing I could find was moving doors and installing doors for this carpentry company. So I started doing that. I started getting paid a little more. So I was like, you know what? I might be able to afford a coach now. So I saved up for about a year, and that's whenever I hired, a coach. So it was financially, it's a struggle, but if you can learn how to budget, if you can learn that a lot of things that you think are important are not, like pre-workout. Do you really need pre-workout?
Right.
You don't need it. You have coffee, you have salt, you can eat that and drink that and head to the gym. You're going to have a great pump. You're going to be awake.
Right.
Do you need to go buy filet mignon or sirloin steak? No, just go to the deli. Ask them for like the leanest meat they have. It's going to be way cheaper than the beef you buy at Walmart. There's all these little tricks and things you can do to make dieting affordable. And that's not just for competitors. That's also for like people that are trying to change their lifestyle.
Yeah. There's
so many options, especially here in the U.S. In Greece, we don't have that many options. We don't have peanut butter. I didn't know what peanut butter was until I moved here. And I was like, I ate a whole peanut butter jar. Like,
that's awesome. I never knew that.
The first time I tried it, I was like, I'm going down. I ate the whole thing. And my cousin walked down and she was like, you know how many calories I had? I was like, I don't care. It's great. I'm eating all of it. So
I never knew that about. Mm-hmm. So is that like an American kind of thing? Or?
Yeah,
really,
100%. I feel like there might be like an odd store here and there that might have it as a, I don't even want to say delicacy, but as a rare thing. Yeah. You know what I mean? But we don't. It's not a regular thing. Like we don't find it at supermarkets and you know what I mean, grocery stores. We don't have them like that.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
that's one of my favorite foods.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. Like here in the U.S., you have many avenues for eating healthy, going to the gym. You have Planet Fitness. It's a stacked gym. I know that it's $10 and they have the weird, whatever rules, but it's only $10 a month.
Yeah.
Like if you want to be healthy, there's no excuse for you.
Right.
They have everything that someone that is starting to work out or even is advanced would need.
Yeah.
I still go there sometimes when I'm out of state or competing somewhere. I go work out there. They never tell me anything. I enjoy working out. I leave. It doesn't have to be, I need to go to the best gym with all the bodybuilders. I need my pre-workout, my intro workout, my post-workout, and my morning workout drink. So I need to spend $3,000 before I even start this thing. You don't. All you need to do is buy you some groceries, wear your gym shorts, go to the gym.
Yeah, that's very true. We have a lot of supplement companies and things like that who are becoming, more prevalent and pushing products and things, which, like social media is really good for pushing fitness from, a health aspect and from like, hey, we can all do this. This is how you kind of do it. Mm-hmm. But it's also, becoming more commercialized.
Yes.
It's becoming more like, these are the things we need instead of just keeping it simple, basics. Like even if you can't afford $10 a month, you can still go work out outside or you can do some push-ups, do some, squats. Like if you want to do it, it's there. It's possible.
100%. And, like you said, so Corona happened, right? And we didn't have a gym to work out at. And I was working with my coach. We were planning on starting to come down for a show. I was like, what are we going to do? I can't work out. I don't have. So we got online and we looked at different gym equipment. And a lot of gyms shut down the coronavirus. And we were living in an apartment at the time. And we had a little garage unit. It was like 15 by 15. So we bought a whole bunch of very cheap gym equipment because these people are just trying to move out these buildings. They don't have money to pay their lease, which is unfortunate, but it was great for us.
Right.
So we bought this gym equipment that probably the first month that we were into it did not even cost us $1,000. And it was a full gym that you need. You don't need too much, right? A bench, a squat rack, a couple machines for legs, a couple machines for upper body. You're good. And now we have a 2,500 square foot facility just for us. It's a private facility.
Wow.
Slowly accumulated. And that's what I'm saying. Like, it's not all going to happen today. And if you, like you said, if you want to find avenues, you're going to make it happen. There's cheap equipment out there that you can buy. I have some of my clients, they find this cardio equipment that's like, it doesn't work, it's for free. They're like, come pick it up. I just want it at my house. This guy went and picked it up, bought it in your battery, like $50. Now he has an elliptical in his house.
Dang.
There's ways to do things. You just got to be creative and you got to work. And people use the word hustle.
Yeah.
Hustling doesn't mean you go out on the street and sell drugs. No, it means finding ways to make things either, maintain your money or increase it.
Yeah.
Right. So spending the least amount on the groceries, that's one way of hustling.
Right.
Because the money you don't spend on groceries, you can spend on something else or your bills.
Right.
So it's still like you're making income. It's still like you're making money.
Yeah.
So that's gradually how actually our coaching started taking off as well. That little garage unit, when we got a house, we had a little bigger garage. So we expanded that. And then we got our facility now that we built, and it was 50 by 50 just in our backyard, and work out there with friends. I have some online clients that come and join me to work out sometimes. But it's a full-blown gym. So, and all the equipment there, I can guarantee it costs less than half of what people pay to have a full-blown gym, a commercial gym, It's just a way of finding avenues to save money, make money at the same time.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. The idea of, hustling and because it's funny, like people will, people try to save on, random things that they don't need. That's, I think, one of the funniest things is like, oh, it's a 2-for-1, but do you even need the first one in the first place? Like, but then they'll complain, gas is like $5, but then they'll complain about that, but they just, spent
$10 on 3 energy drinks.
Yeah. It's like, kind of like what you said, just prioritizing things, even like making a budget, scheduling your time out, like all those things. I think it's becoming less like the world, especially, here in America. I think it's becoming more of like a fun thing. Like people are taking things less seriously until they become serious.
100%.
We don't have the what's the word? We don't have I can't think of the word. Like the responsibility, we don't have
obligation. You don't feel obligated.
Yeah, you don't feel obligated to be responsible. I feel like. I think it's like, how can we have the most fun?
Exactly.
And worry about it later.
Yeah. No, I and I tried it. It just didn't work out for me. I didn't have all the privileges that people have here, because I literally had to work for every single thing. Both me and my wife, every single thing that we had to work for. So we didn't have the privileges of, getting the easier route. It was literally, you finish work at 9, you feel like crap, you either go to the gym or you don't. You progress or you stay where you are.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like, oh, you know what, I can go to the apartment complex gym and do the cardio machine. My apartment complex had roaches and bed bugs. I didn't have a cardio machine in my apartment complex, and the gas that I paid to go to the gym was also something that I had to consider. So you got to make it happen. And I know people that don't even go to the gym. They just do push-ups, pull-ups, crunches. They run around the block 4 or 5 times. They look jacked. How can they do it? And you have a $60, membership to a fancy gym, and you cannot grow. Obviously, like we said, prioritizing things is and I notice people like that, like you said, they try to make it the easiest. So whenever they go to the gym, they don't push past their boundaries. They just do the same thing over and over, and they just train, very moderately.
Yeah.
I knew a guy that used to work out 3 times a day. He'd come in the gym 3 times a day, 1 hour each time, and he'd do cardio as well. I went to that gym for 3 years. The guy looked the same. He hadn't lost 1 pound.
Jeez.
And he was kind of chubby. And I was like, hey, man, you want to change something? He's like, well, the way you train is how you damage your joints, and that's how you regress. And I was like, okay, my bad. Sorry, man.
Yeah. Some people you just can't.
You can't, because they don't see the fact that, I might be kind of lazy. Let me try and up this by 5 pounds. Let's see how it feels.
Yeah.
So it's the same. It's a mentality. You can do all the things that I'm doing and still see no progress. And you can do all the things that I'm doing with passion and see maybe more progress. You might have more passion than I do, So like you said, it's a mentality, 100%. You don't feel obligated to be responsible about your body, about your health. You're not going to be.
Yeah.
That's just that.
I think it's bizarre that people don't take health, into consideration for the most part.
It's very sad.
It's sad, but to me, it's even like weird and crazy.
Yeah.
As human beings, like we have all this knowledge about what certain habits can lead to, and what certain foods overeating can lead to, and like, but we still like don't take it into consideration until you see something like huge blow up. You know, you see Corona, and then it's all of a sudden like people are so worried about it, and you got to have the shot. You got to, you know, do all these other precautions, and then now when things are kind of wearing back off, it's people are
they're still
forget.
relaxing again. They forget.
They forget.
Exactly. They're like, you know what? Let me try and be healthier. So if something like this happens again, my body's at a better state to handle it.
Yeah.
Even if it's the vaccine or the disease itself, you know, they don't think about that. I have a lot of clients that come to me just for weight loss because their doctor literally tells them, if you don't lose weight, you're literally cutting years off your life.
Yeah.
I'm like, why does it have to get to that point?
Right.
Like, look at yourself in the mirror. Are you happy with what you see? If you're not, let's make a change, you know? And there's so many, like you said, there's so many coaches, you know, but there's also so many good coaches that can be affordable and that can help you. So why not just do that? Even if you don't want to do it yourself, hire somebody, let them tell you what to do, and just see the progress. But I've seen people that come and ask for my help, and they lose a little bit of weight, and they're like, you know what, this is too hard. I'm just going to go have a gastric bypass. I'm just going to have them do this for me. I'm just going to have them do that for me. That's serious. Like you said, they don't feel the seriousness of the situation. It's very serious when you're like 300 pounds, solid fat. You can barely walk and breathe.
Right.
It's a tough thing. People have to realize that.
Yeah. And I think it's tough because, you know, you can go work out one time and you'll probably feel good about it. But at the end of the day, that one workout, you're not going to see changes. But so it's like, okay, I can either go do that and feel maybe uncomfortable and, you know, struggle in the gym. Maybe if I feel even good about myself, you know, that might counterbalance the bad feelings, but I'm not seeing anything. Or I can just sit here on the couch and still not see any changes. So it's really, I think it's so hard when we're programmed to like live in the short-term gratification mode to see like, yeah, that one workout might not mean anything. But making that commitment day in, day out for an extended period of time, you know, that is the difference. Right. You know, people 100%. Just aren't committing to it for, you know, a year, 2 years, 5 years. And, you know, kind of goes back, I think, to social media a lot of times. You know, they see people on there who are like already where they want to be. And it can be, as weird as it, to me, it's motivating, but to some people, a lot of people, it's demotivating. It's like, well, I'll never be there. You know, they don't see the work that they're putting in. They just see the pictures. They just see the reels or the videos.
And that's what I feel like is sad. I record everything. Whenever I post those videos, I don't keep anything bad out because I want people to see that, dude, this sucks sometimes. You know, this does not feel good sometimes. Yeah. You know, I did have to work a 12-hour day, and I'm still at the gym, and I'm a pro, and I'm still having to do this, you know. A lot of pros, people think I'll turn pro and it changes your life. It doesn't. You know, it's still you learning how to, like I said, being lucrative in everything you do. That's what changes your life. And the consistency, like you said, going in the gym, you know, not just one time a week, not just one time a month, not just one time a year, saying to yourself, even if it means that you do it practically, you write out a paper and you're like, this year, I promise myself that I'm going to lose this amount of weight and my blood work is going to look a lot better than it does right now. And you sign it like a contract with yourself. I think I heard a reel that was mentioning that, but it made me feel like I need to do that. And I was already like into it. I was already like 3 weeks out for my show. I was like, let me do that. Let me write that down and sign it and say, I'm going to win that show. You know, no matter what it takes, I'm going to show up the best I can at that show and I'm going to win it. It's very sad that a lot of people don't love themselves enough to try and change, to try and be healthier. Because I believe they don't see the true self, you know, when you're bound to the couch or to the bed because you're so heavy and you're having health problems and you don't feel motivated. It sucks. It doesn't just affect the fact that you cannot move. It affects other things, your hormones, your health, how long you're going to live, if you can have kids or not. And they don't feel like they are worth it to get out of that bed and go work for something better on themselves. It's just unfortunate. Yeah,
it is. It's kind of sad the places that we're going to, and you know, with an increase in technology, it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. You know, whether the technology is going to be used for increasing health, or whether it's going to be, and it could be either way, I'm sure, but or whether it's just going to make people more sedentary, make people kind of focus less on their health and things like that. But you know, that's the place we're headed, though.
Yeah,
I think regardless, you know, the technology is gonna come. It's just about a matter of fact of how we decide to, you know, let it play a role in our life. But something interesting you mentioned was like, you know, turning pro and like nothing really changes.
No,
you know, you still train, you still do this, you still do that.
Yeah.
But mentally, like you probably set your sights on becoming pro, right? And it's like, that's what I want to achieve. And it's up there. It's like, let's get there. But once you hit that, like, how did that affect you?
So it was, I didn't hit it. I didn't realize that it happened. And then we had a show the week after. So I went right back on prep. I didn't change anything on my diet. Right back in the gym. I think the morning, I couldn't sleep that night. So at 4 a.m. I was in the gym. So I didn't feel it until we came back home and people were actually like, hey, man, congratulations. I watched you. It was awesome. That means a lot to me when people are like supportive, you know. So nothing changed, you know, getting sponsors or money-wise, but a lot changed in my head. I was like, we did this, man. Like, it was worth it. Yeah. It confirms the fact that all that struggle, because you see all this, it's very easy, like we said, it's very easy to take days around and just sit at home, eat pizza, watch a movie. Trust me, I love it. I do too, you know. I sit out, what was it, yesterday we had a cheat. I went and ordered some wings and we watched the movie and we hung out and I loved it, you know. But that's not every night. Right. You know, earn that. I earned that by earning that pro card, by putting in all the work. Now I will have it. Now we'll rest. Now we'll rejoice. And when it's time to work again, guess what? We're going to put our heads down. We're going to put the wings away. We'll lift some weights. We're going to do some cardio, you know, because the balance thing, you just got to find the timing for everything. If you earn it, I'm not saying don't do it, but you've earned a lot of pounds by eating bad food. It's time to earn or to you know, remove some pounds, you know, to get healthier. So that's the time for you. The time for me is to eat this bad food. Yeah. Your time is not the same as my time. Correct. You know? So that's what I tell people, that it's not going to be forever that you have to struggle with this situation. Just lose the weight, and then it's going to be time for you to enjoy yourself. Yeah. It's going to be time for you to be healthy, but also be able to have your cheat once or twice a week. Enjoy yourself, have fun with your friends, and be able to go out and do those things. Yeah. You know? So I didn't feel bad. That's the thing. How it made me feel is that it took away the bad feeling or the guilt when I was eating a cheat meal or something bad. That's what the pro card did the most for me. You know? And
kind of moving forward, like how do you know, with achieving such a big goal, you know, obviously now it's even more competitive. You know, everybody is a pro, everybody is taking their game to the next level. Like, how do you put something else on that goal level and say, this is what we're going to aim towards? Yeah. You know, still appreciating what you achieved, but also, you know, how do you move forward, I guess? So
before we turned pro, and I told this to my wife when we started the prep for nationals in December 2021, I was training like a pro. I was in like a pro. I was comparing myself to these people on stage, the pros. So to me, competitive-wise, nothing changed. I went to that show the weekend after, and I was like, I still have a chance against these guys. Like, I look the way I do because I wanted to be a pro, because I wanted to be here. So now it's my time. So we placed 5th on my first pro show, which I'm happy with. That means I was compared with a top 5, you know, which the top guy went to Olympia. You know, they're comparing with people that go into Olympia. So it didn't really change anything whenever I earned the pro card. It was just like, let's just keep going. I honestly wanted to do another show and another show after that. I was like, we have a chance at this, because we didn't just get ready to win this pro card. We got ready to be pros. I live like these people do. Right. I do everything they do. Why do they have a better chance than I do? Yeah. So now the good thing is that we do have a 10-pound increase. Once you turn pro, you get that in classic physique. So now I have a little bit of room to grow. You know, come back a little bigger, a little leaner, and hopefully place, you know, above at 5th place on the pro show. The next goal is to win a pro show, And I see all these pictures on Instagram from these shows that happen. I think today was the Puerto Rico Pro. And I'm just like, I just want to be there, I just want to be on that stage. So moving forward, it just gave me more fuel. It was just like confirmation that you're not delusional. You actually look decent.
Yeah.
Let's do this. You can do something in the sport. So it was just like confirmation, I guess, for me.
Yeah. For sure. And, moving forward to increase, your probability of winning and get better, like, what do you think it is you have to do better? Obviously, you said, you get to put on more weight, you get to put on more size and things like that. But, like, is there an aspect of training that you can just see, like, hey, we need to do this better?
Yeah. So what I noticed in the pictures was my inner thighs were behind, chest thickness and back thickness. Those are the 3 areas that we think we're lacking on. So we changed the training up to where we're focusing more chest and back. I train chest and back twice a week now. And I train my legs. We switched legs from 2 times a week because I feel like they were getting too taxed. I do the Stairmaster every day. So I was like, let's back it up to 1. So, of course, that's with my coach. That's the little things that we're changing. A little bit heavier movements with back movements from the ground, deadlifts, rack pulls, rows, even cable rows. And that's the thickness day, right? And then for chest, same thing, decline press, dumbbell press, flies, close screw presses, just things that will pump a lot of blood and you can push a lot of weight in. And then we have the second chest and back day, which are more like a pump workout, pull-ups, wide pull-downs, working a little bit on the width, utilizing all the calories that we're eating. But the main focus is those 3 areas, inner thighs, chest, and back thickness. And we changed my workout plan to accommodate that, like I said, with 2 days of chest, 2 days of back, and then the food as well. When I was 275, I was eating a lot more carbs than I'm eating now. So one thing that we managed to do is stay lean on the off season. People think that they have to get super fat. You don't have to get super fat. You'll hold a little bit more fat than you do on stage, maybe 10, 15, maybe 20 pounds, which I think is ideal for you to start gaining muscle. Once you get to that point, keep that fat percentage there and then keep on adding muscle to that. Then you only have 15, 20 pounds to lose whenever you're ready for stage time again. So staying lean is another way for me to come in harder next time. Gotcha. So that's what we changed. And not hopefully, I know it's going to work because everything we've done so far has brought some kind of improvement.
Right.
So, and every time we go to these shows, we learn something more about me.
Yeah.
This show, we didn't cut water completely off. We sipped on water all the way up to the show. So it wasn't a lot. It was like 8 ounces every 2 hours, 3 hours. But I looked a lot better. My body responded a lot better. I felt a lot better. And I didn't cramp up as much. So that's another thing that we're going to incorporate in the future, to be better as well.
Yeah.
So.
And I think it's interesting working with the human body, how you continue to learn about yourself. Mm-hmm. But then you also, like, as you get older, things change and you also have to learn how to, work with yourself again.
Exactly.
Each show, each year that passes, you have to do things differently. You have to, maybe this food now, all of a sudden, oh, wow, I'm realizing that maybe it's not sitting well with me. It causes inflammation. Like, it's just crazy, like, going back to the beginning, like, how much, oh, wow, I didn't realize that eating this certain food was maybe determining how well I was doing on stage. And now that I cut that out, like, it's the world of a difference.
Yes, 100%. We did a prep where my wife was prepping with me at the time, and my coach cut out all our carbs, and it was just, can't talk about that. It was just veggies, and what we started doing was a lot of cauliflower and broccoli, and that was every meal: cauliflower and rice, cauliflower and fish, or broccoli and fish. No sauce, just salt. I was getting some indigestion, some inflammation in my stomach, so my gut was a little distended. I was like, I don't know why it's happening. I'm not eating any carbs. Now, my wife, on the other hand, had a lot worse of a result. We're working out, and she's like, I feel a little bit of pain over here in my lower abdomen. I was like, have you ever had that? What's wrong with you? So 4 hours later, we're home. We're getting in bed. She's like, I can't take this pain anymore. I didn't know it was that bad. She's like, we need to go. I was like, let's just take it to the hospital. We need to go to the hospital. So we go to the hospital. apparently all that fiber from all these vegetables had created a hardened stool for my wife.
Wow.
So she was just too constipated.
Yeah. Dang, see?
She thought it was her appendix, and I was like, well, you just got to poop, girl. Let's get you some Swiss Chris and get you going.
It's crazy, though. Like, something as simple as that, like, it's just makes a difference. And it's weird because we're so, like, similar. You know, human body is so similar, but that small difference that...
Small, very minute, but it can make the world of a difference. Like, for me, I had a little bit of distension, but it wasn't as bad as what she was going through. I didn't feel no pain. I didn't... You know, what we did after that, we cut down the vegetables and actually did some more carbs for her, like rice, normal carbs.
Yeah.
And she was flushed out and ready to go like 2 weeks later. For me, I just, you know, we figured that lowering the vegetables would be a good idea just so we don't get to that point. But everybody's different. Some people can do that diet and they could probably last forever.
Yeah.
You know, it wouldn't affect them.
Yeah.
So for me and for her, obviously it's not.
Yeah.
And we need some actual carbs in there, not just the vegetables. I
Yeah.
guess the fiber in them does not sit well with the both of us.
Yeah.
You know? So
have y'all ever done any like food sensitivity test or anything like that?
I haven't. I want to, because even this prep, we had like 2 weeks. I would keep on getting leaner and drier, but my weight would stay the same. And usually my stomach gets very small closer to the show. I use a waist trainer. We practice vacuums. We make sure that I'm hungry all the time, just so my insides can kind of shrink closer to the show. And this time, it was like 4 weeks out, and my coach was like, dude, you're like 227, wake up is 215, or what was it, 207? 212? 212. And I was like, I don't know what I need to do. I don't know what's going on. He's like, anything you're doing, vegetable-wise, cut it off. No more vegetables. Any supplements you're taking, cut them off. We cut everything off, and everything just starts coming down. I lost 5 pounds within 2 days. It was just a lot of water retention. It's also the stress, how much stress your body can handle. Yeah. So it might be reacting well with the same, you know, supplements and food, and then 2 months later, because you're closer to the show and you're so stressed, it might not. So, you know, like you said, you learn to adjust every time. It's not just the age, it's also the situation, the circumstances, flying, traveling, doing those things. It's very it confirms my reasoning for getting a coach, because I'm like, I wouldn't know what to do.
Right.
You know, so.
And do you do anything for that stress? Like, do you meditate? Do you, you know, anything like that?
I go to the gym.
That's stress management.
You know, we work with clients all day, and I love talking to them and just hearing about their day, hearing about them. You know, just talking about things that don't have to do with the prep. The worst thing you can ask somebody whenever they're on prep is, how do you feel? You know exactly how I feel. Don't ask me that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about something else. You know, how was your day? What did you do today?
Yeah.
You know, tell me something that happened that was exciting, or tell me a story about something that you thought was wild. That takes my mind away from it, gives me a little bit of a laughter, forget. So socializing for me is important around that time, you know, because I don't realize it. What you try to do at that point is have the time pass as fast as you can.
Right.
You know, so talking to people and socializing allows that. And also, you don't become a butt to people. Like, you're not rude. You're not mean. You're like, you act like you're caring, which you eventually start caring for people, you know?
Yeah.
So that's how I manage stress, just focusing on them, you know, give them a phone call or have them come over, get a workout with me. Let's work out together. Let's talk about, you know, what you're going through, stuff like that. And then we have conversations like we have here. They want to educate themselves. So they ask me different questions about what I'm doing with my prep. And it just lightens the atmosphere for me, you know?
Yeah.
I train in my private gym. So if I train alone, there's no music. There's nothing going on. There's nobody in there. You know, I designate 2 hours a day. I'm the only one in there. No music, especially close to the show, because what I like to do is think about the show, think about me being on stage, posing, all those things. So whenever I'm feeling super stressed, it won't be good for me to be in the gym by myself and my thoughts. So I'm like, hey, man, come through. Let's go work out. Let's hang out like we used to do before prep. Let's talk about, you know, your day, how your progress is going.
Yeah.
So that helps a lot.
Yeah. And it's interesting you say that, because I was talking to somebody else and they kind of said the same thing. It's like, you know, if you close yourself off, it may seem like the right thing to do, but you're actually just kind of digging yourself deeper, going down that rabbit hole a little bit deeper.
Yes. If you remember, I mentioned that in the beginning. That's how I used to handle it before. And what it do for me actually is make me more depressed, you know, because you get in those thoughts where it gets really deep to where you're thinking, I'm not good enough. You know, I'm not good at this. I'm not good at that. And it's not the truth, but in the moment, it feels like it is.
Yeah.
So, you know, back then, I would just get in this really, really depressing states and just feel very down and very introverted. I wouldn't want to talk to nobody. I want to socialize, but my wife taught me that as well. Like, whenever she made me talk about how I feel, and I heard it from her opinion, I was like, you know what? Maybe if I try that with friends, with people that I have around, maybe that'll help, and it helped a lot. So, closing yourself off is not the thing to do.
Yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't seem like it's very lending to just kind of like you said, getting through it as fast as you can.
Yeah.
I think we all kind of have that situation, growing up, where we have this thing that we want, and it's in the future a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And whether it's like summer vacation or whatever it is, and like you're sitting there, and you get home from school, and your parents are like, "Oh, how was your day at school?" And you're just like, "That's what I did all day. I don't want to, I want to talk about like something else. I want to go outside and play, or I want to like, it's funny how everything kind of comes full circle.
The funny thing, the sad thing about it is that people do that with everything, and eventually they run out of life. You know, they're older and they haven't accomplished anything they want to do just because they wanted to pass the time. They're like, when I get to that, when I get to this, live in the now. Even when I'm on prep, I'm like, I'll enjoy how I look on prep because I'm shredded. I'm like, let's take pictures, let's do photo shoots, let's videotape something, because you have to live in the now. The show is important, but living in that exact moment where you felt like crap and you still push through is going to be worth it to remember. If you don't live that moment and you try to pass time by being introverted or just closing off, it'll feel a lot worse. At least for me, it did.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's an important point for sure. A good takeaway from this is, just don't feel like you have to be alone.
Yeah.
Don't feel like you're the only one going through it.
Right.
Because the mind, like we were saying, the mind will play tricks on you. It'll, it'll lie to you and make you feel like this, quote unquote reality is really what's going on, when in fact it's completely different.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy the strength that the mind does have on us.
For sure.
But for, kind of close things out, what advice, outside of obviously everything we've already talked about, what advice would you have for somebody who, wants to get into this sport and wants to do well at it?
Just pursue it. Fall in love with it. Pursue it. Don't do it for, the financial benefit of the whole thing, because there's none there. You have to have passion for it, and then stuff is going to start coming to you. Don't wait. Don't wait till tomorrow. Don't wait. Start today. Just be like, okay, let me start today. Small steps, big improvements. That's always what I say. And learn how to prioritize. And that's not just for the gym. That's for life. That's for everything. Learn how to prioritize, because the people that you're around, like I said, I'm from Greece. So a lot of people that I knew back then, I'm not in contact anymore. And now I wish that I spend more time with them. I wish that I talked to them a little more, because I don't know if I'm ever going to see them again. So, prioritize family, work, life, God, and then think about the other things like working out, doing stuff like that. Learn how to balance them, and also have a passion for what you're doing. So that's a long message.
All important things, though.
Yeah.
All very important. Make life a well-rounded experience. I remember talking, it was couple, maybe close to 2 years ago now, really, at the very beginning of this podcast. And that was something that they were talking about, was like, people who really are in this world of fitness, whether it's powerlifting, bodybuilding, whatever, kind of niche they're in, it's like they put so much time and effort into it. They are really involved in that community of people who are doing the same thing. But whenever their careers are really over, it's like they don't know kind of what to do next.
Yes.
Because they didn't prioritize.
And I don't want to keep on going, but after my show, I felt very depressed because I didn't know what to do. I was like, I don't have a show to get ready for. I'm not supposed to just sit here and eat food and work out. But like you said, focus on other things. focus on your life. There's a time for everything. Focus on that, on your loved ones, your family, your work. It's not all about bodybuilding. It's not all about one thing in general. It's not all about work, whatever your thing is. So, no, yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah,
for sure.
For sure, man. It was really good getting to talk to you tonight. I appreciate you
having us.
coming in.
Really appreciate ourselves. So.
Yeah, it's good to have you in here, both of you in here, and getting to have a conversation about a passion, a shared passion, is always really special. So, thanks.
Oh yeah, for sure. Appreciate it.
All right, man. Well, that's it.
Awesome.
And that's it. I guess before let me we'll throw this back in there before we head out. Let's give us your social medias. Where people can follow you on social media and get motivated, or if they want to.
Our Instagram page is _Black_Rambo, and we have a Facebook page, Fabode Fitness, Fabode Fitness, and we have a lot of our clients in there, friends, family, people that have accomplished goals in the fitness community, and it's just to promote a better lifestyle, a healthier life. People that lost weight, so we post their before and their after, or they did something that they never thought they could do. But yeah, that's really all our social media. Yeah, and we really do appreciate you inviting us over, and we enjoy the podcast ourselves. So awesome. I'm stoked to see this.
Absolutely, can't wait to put it out, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, man.